the original copywriter and the publisher, and it's one of our own promotions that you're just basically knocking it off as close as possible. We've done that in the past.
Right.
The cost on that, again, is if the reader starts noticing how similar it is that going to reduce the effectiveness? The funny part is, and again, it shows the power of the idea between the $50 retirement blueprint and the $50 marijuana blueprint and the $20 Bitcoin blueprint, is the ideas of those are so different that it didn't really affect the effectiveness of that. Good question. Back to me.
Something that I learned might have been the antithesis of what you were trying to accomplish, but if I tried to use this to write anything, I wouldn't be able to get anywhere. I'd be like, how do I do this? How do you know, like exactly what I say? But what you could use this for is kind of like a checklist. Like, did I generally accomplish these things?
So I wanted you to be aware of all those things because, again, like you're going to learn more by actually doing the writing, which would be really boring for us to sit here and just show you examples of that. And you have a ton in Joe's already. That, like, you gotta have it come up with a language, a common language, or it's helpful to have that so you know what's going on. So it's just useful to have that kind of shorthand. So you could use that checklist and be like, oh, okay, I see they're setting up the problem here. So I'll just circle that section and put problem, and that way we know it isn't, you know when you look at it that that's what you mean, and you're not confused because you're using the same kind of naming device every time you do it.
I learned that different promos are written with different structures, and that probably could have saved me the most frustration my first 2 months here, because I did what I thought was correct, was load up on copy and just read, and I was doing that, but I wasn't putting together the patterns yet. And I remember the first couple leads and promos I was putting together, I was drawing from these different promos I had read. I was like, I like that technique, I like this thing, I like this thing. Yeah. And what I had was like a hodgepodge of useless shit that didn't flow, and it was like, where did this come from? It just, it didn't seem to fit a real reasonable structure that made any sense. It was just, I was just grabbing what I thought was useful from all these different things that could have been a secret, a prediction, a system promo, and then throwing it into one.
So that's like the worst kind of swiping is people who just cut and paste. It doesn't work. The second worst is kind of that Frankenstein monster approach that people do, where I'm just going to take the head of this one and the foot of this one and tie it together with chicken wire. And it just, the really thing you want to swipe the most is the structure. That's the whole key of this session today. Anyone else?
Okay. I learned that when you're swiping, is ask yourself deeper, more valuable questions.
Yeah.
No, hey, like it's like, hey, like Joe was saying, where does proof come from? Why is it there? What's it trying to do? Who is the guy in the proof? I mean, just stuff like that. Yeah. About approaching it.
I mean, if you look at all the techniques we're trying to teach you in this camp, if you look at every copywriting book, every course, that's all those guys did. I mean, originally it was tough because they're like, Claude Hopkins was totally blind. He was just throwing shit against the wall, but he was tracking his results. That's the whole idea of scientific advertising. And then he took those ones that worked, and he's like, why did they work? And he probably started diagramming, creating templates, and creating names for the techniques. And someone built off his work and did the same thing to accumulate now. That's originally, if you burned all the copywriting books, if you just deleted all the copycat videos out there, if you just nuked the whole, everyone that knew anything got, an A-bomb hit and you had to recreate civilization, that's how you would recreate these techniques. You would just see what worked, figure it out, pull it out, and try to replicate those in future sales letters. That's it.
I'll give you a quick little tip on, like you're saying, reading deeper too. One of the things you'll notice when you read deeper is that if the copywriter has done a good job, when they've made a big promise to the reader, they follow that right up with proof. So that's pretty simple, right, as far as understanding it, but you'll see when copywriters do a bad job at that, and you'll be able to circle that and be like, hey, they made a promise that's pretty unbelievable and didn't back it up with proof. And you're going to see the good examples of that, where when you make a big promise, you can make 2 million% with blockchain. And it's not just me saying that, and here comes the proof, right? Bloomberg says that typically it's 3 pieces of proof that follow a big promise. And there are 3 varying pieces of proof. So it could go like, hey, you're going to make $2 million in blockchain, right? There's your promise, followed by proof. It's not just me saying that. Bloomberg says blockchain is going to be the way of the future. So now you got Bloomberg. Joe P already doubled their money in 10 days on Bitcoin. Now you got social proof. And according to Harvard University, they did a study on blockchain, and they say every company is going to adopt blockchain by 2020. Now you got institutional proof. So those 3 pieces of proof are following a promise. You're going to start to notice that over and over again. And then in your own writing, because you've read so much and because you've dissected it and looked for those hidden things, it will be ingrained into you doing it. That every time you write, a promise, that you're, it's going to be like muscle memory. It's like brain memory. Your brain memory is going to kick in and just automatically start to follow these things. So you'll put the 3 pieces of proof behind it. You're never going to do that unless you are doing what Sean's saying, which is asking deeper questions about the copy that you're reading. You'll get that muscle memory. Who thinks Pete and I are going to die this weekend? Oh, God.
When do you fly out there?
We fly out Friday morning, and we begin at 6 a.m. on Saturday, and they don't release us till like 10 a.m. on Sunday. So
If you make it back.
then we fly back Monday. We get back Monday at 9:15. So Ryan's flying solo on Monday. So read this. It is, I think a lot of people think, I'm one of them, like the easiest way to learn how to create ideas. It's very, very simple if you haven't read it. If you have read it, just read it again because it's very, very important, and it is the best way. I think it's the only way, really, for actually producing ideas. So we'll start with that on Monday, without me and without Pete. So we'll see you guys then.
Thanks.
I'm telling you, I think it's like, could you scoop me that? Thank you very much.
So can you drop that off for me?